Welcome everybody to the front nine of round number 2 of the 2021 Down East Players Cup presented by Eastern Disc Golf and Disc Box. I'm Brian Earhart, joined here yet again by Elaine King calling the shots. We move to Farmville Disc Golf Course. Elaine, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's quite a different course than Meadowbrook. The course has got a lot of wide open areas and a lot of out of bounds. And any wind will make those out of bounds come closer when the shots land. So we'll have to see what the conditions are like and how the players manage.
We have Natalie Ryan, Deann Carey, Holly Finley, and Jaye McGuire moving into round 2 on this lead card. Still kind of a tight race. Anything can really happen this second round. And as you can see, the leaderboard starting to be a little separation from the lead card to the chase card. But again, still a lot of moves to be made.
Absolutely, and I'm excited to see Jaye McGuire play. She is an up-and-coming player. This is her first pro year, and starting on hole number 1 is a test. That ditch and beyond to the right is out of bounds. The trees to the left cause a lot of problems, and we can see the basket sitting in a really pretty position, but there is out of bounds in the tall grass behind.
And yet another beautiful day for disc golf in North Carolina.
It's wonderful to see the blue sky and the nice warm temperatures despite the late fall conditions. So Natalie Ryan gets us going. That's a conservative shot. The question is, will it stay in the short grass? No, she's just poked herself there into the tree line, so she'll have a sidearm or something of that type to get out.
And Deann finishing her first round with a complete bang, hoping to bring that momentum into the second.
And a well-placed shot. If you get at the short tee or even a little bit farther, that's good placement as long as you're in the short grass. You actually want to land as close as you can to the ditch, but you certainly don't want to go out of bounds. So,
Holly also throwing a great shot, almost sticking it on the short pad.
and Jaye McGuire from the Raleigh area throws a nice backhand. It's a little high, though, so she's going to have to... Oh! I was about to say she'd have to contend with the woods, but it spit her back out, so good on her. So with this second shot, you want to get up and around. It looks like Deann got caught up a little bit in the trees there, but she should have a clear shot to the basket for her par 4.
Oh my. Is Jaye lining up the wooded window?
There is definitely a path there.
Okay. She faked us out there for a second and throws a nice conservative shot to the corner.
That certainly is the wiser choice, because even if you went through that path through the woods, it would be hard to get up and around. Now, Holly is lined up beautifully with the really large path through the woods, throwing a sidearm, which could potentially get her in position for a birdie. But she misses the gap, unfortunately.
Nice controlled shot from Holly. Sticks right next to the basket. Should be an easy par.
And Natalie looks like she may be doing something inventive here. So she has to be careful with the roller that it doesn't turn over and reach the tall grass.
Oh, and there's yeah.
Well, that didn't go very far,
Yeah.
so that'll be safe. Again, she'll be in position to get up and down for a par. Yeah, that was a little bit nose down, so you can see it grounded out, probably outside the circle.
And Natalie up from the New England area, I believe. I have seen her across the country putting in a lot of time and a lot of effort into her field work and practice. And you saw with the opening drive, didn't even get all of it and still got way down the fairway.
Absolutely. Natalie's been hitting a lot of Pro Tour stops, making a name for herself this year. And Deann coming up just a little bit short. That's so disappointing on the opening hole. And it's a generous par 4. It really is a par 3.5. So, you know, if you don't get the 4, you'll be disappointed. That was a tricky little putt, so good for Jaye for canning that first putt of the day, which always has the heart racing a little bit faster.
And especially, you know, first time that I've personally seen her on coverage. So you never know what's going on in her head as well.
Well, this is her first time on film, she told me afterwards, and she says she was very nervous, but really enjoyed the experience. And absolutely, when you're in your rookie year and you get on live coverage or post-production as this is, it's so exciting. You have this feeling of accomplishment, and well-deserved.
And a par for Holly. Just a single bogey for Deann. Tap in par for Natalie, and we are going to see you on number 2.
Hole number 2, OB ditch, OB pond, OB ditch. So there's a lot of obstacles here. This hole is uphill, and this initial drive is uphill. So when you take your distance from your rangefinder, you need to take into account it's just that little bit up. So Natalie just going for as much distance as she can, and
wow,
gets across the ditch. That's it's good to get across the ditch.
Yeah.
It leaves you an easy shot, but going for that distance, you can sometimes land in a bad position. And so you can see Holly there skips into, and that's what happens when you're right-hand backhanded, because that grove of trees forces you to the left and sometimes shorter. So Jaye is looking here to lay it up, and it stops beautifully. That is a great position just by that big tree.
You know, it really takes a lot of discipline to, you know, a hole that you very easily can probably throw across the OB to throw that layup hyzer. But again, that's just betting against the field at that point. And Deann does the same thing.
Yeah, the layup is the move. It's almost impossible to get a 2. It would be a really long throw-in. So why not just make life easy for yourself, just like Jaye is right there. And, you know, that was a pretty simple, probably less than 200-foot shot. Holly with the penalty and a little bit tight, so she leaves herself short for her putt. And Deann wasn't in the ideal position, but a sidearm gets her right into the putting circle.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was almost stopped there several times.
Wow, the slow roll. She'll have circle's edge or just outside.
So this is for bogey from Holly. It's a short putt, but it's quite uphill. And she gets a piece of it, but not enough to stick. A similar putt from Natalie, with a similar result. Deann for the 3. Nicely done.
And it seems like FPO is playing all the same pads again as the MPO. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
And what are your thoughts on playing the same layout on this particular course?
I think there are some par 3s that are unexciting for the women because it's too long to really have a chance at a 2, and it's not a particularly tough 3.
So you're saying kind of like those par 3.5s that you were just talking about, where, you know, 3 feels like you have to get it, 4 feels like automatic bogey.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, the par 3s that are 400 feet with not too many obstacles, and we'll see some of them as we go along, are not as exciting. But hole 3 is very exciting because there is this gap you need to get through and an OB ditch. There is OB to the left, OB to the right, and OB long. And if there's any wind on this hole, as there usually is, that makes things even more difficult.
Yeah, gap looks to be about 20 to 30 feet across. Jaye's pulled hers just a bit right. Does it have enough to get through? And appears to have done so. No OB marker.
And Deann is electing not to throw on the turf, but unfortunately her disc was offline, and I can't tell from here whether that got through or not.
I believe it did. Again, no OB markers. Interesting note, AJ Carey was also on lead card playing on this course, and he did the exact same thing, teeing off to the left side. So husband and wife taking the same strategy on this hole.
And you just saw Natalie Ryan there just burst one down the fairway. Holly has got a great line as well. And you can see hers coming just a little bit short of Natalie. So both of those women have a long bid at a 2. Jaye swung it a little bit wide, and so she'll be looking at a 4 in all likelihood. Nice controlled shot from Deann. She has really got her approach shots down this year. They're usually very, very close to the basket.
Like you said, that's kind of the name of the game out of this course. If you can get up and down from 100 to 200 feet, that's going to be the moneymaker out here.
Well, not only that, it just takes all the pressure off. And, you know, the more times you need to putt, the more pressure it seems every time. Oh, Holly, just the top right again. But that was an excellent bid.
You saw that right away early out of the hand, missing on the left side. And like you said, bursted that drive down the fairway.
And now the wind is starting to pick up. You can see, I know certainly I played this hole before the lead group, and there was definitely a headwind that caused some of the discs to go a little bit astray. And Natalie, just taking a moment to think about that putt, even though it was a short putt, it is a little bit windy. She had a side wind there. So you do have 30 seconds to throw, and sometimes rushing a short putt leaves you very much regretting that you didn't just take some time to set up and make sure you were feeling confident.
Discover Greenville, North Carolina, where we put whole hog Q on the map and inspiration lives on every corner. Unplug for a moment of tranquility or enjoy one of our parks, fields, greenways, or trails. Then recharge with fresh, local flavors, one-of-a-kind art galleries, and toe-tapping music. North Carolina's Emerald City is filled with countless hidden gems. Find yours in Greenville, North Carolina.
Hole number 4, there's no OB on the right, but we do have an OB line on the left where that tall grass is. And there's a distinct dogleg here with one major gap that you want to hit. And the basket has OB to the left, right where that big tree is, and at the back. So the play here is to go straight, straight, straight into a headwind. And Deann is heading towards the OB and finds it, unfortunately.
Yeah, and it looks to be like playing and kind of flirting with the OB on the left side gives you a more open look towards that gap at the basket. So there's kind of a double-edged sword here on this hole.
Well, Natalie corrects, and she throws it wide, but with a little bit of Anheuser, and controls that disc to stay in the middle of the fairway. Holly is throwing her hyzer flip disc, which flipped a bit too much. So Jaye is bemoaning. Yeah, she knew that was going to skip out of bounds. I've concluded on this hole the best play is to throw it really low, because somehow the wind always gets your disc on this hole. So Holly playing up there so she can see that mouth that she has to get through. Jaye actually had a really long drive, even though it was out of bounds.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there's out of bounds again on that left side. Yeah, she didn't look like she was lined up to the gap. So Natalie going up and over, that's an aggressive move. And I think she found the woods to the right of the basket. We'll have to see how encumbered her shot's going to be. And I think we're going to find the same thing with Deann. That was a high shot, and it finds the woods. So lots of trouble for the women on this hole.
Yeah, and on this right side, it's so thick in certain spots, but there are some gaps. So if they do get a fortunate lie, they have an opportunity to run the basket. Holly with a beautiful little standstill.
And even though her drive was not in a great position, she was able to chip it up and chip it to the basket. So she's in excellent position for her par. And it looks like it's going to be a 6 for Jaye with those 2 penalties. And you can see how sandy it is close to the basket. So that is kind of nice because the disc will stop. And keeping in mind there is out of bounds behind the basket.
This is for birdie. Oh, just caught some branches right off the bat.
Yeah, that low ceiling there. So she'll clean up for a par. And that should be a bogey for Deann as she had that penalty stroke. And I think that is a double for Jaye. And Holly looks like she will be the only one apart from Natalie getting the par. Holly puts a lot of spin on her putts, even from close distance.
I love the confidence. I absolutely love it.
But when you have that line drive, it helps the putt keep its line. And you certainly want your drive to keep its line. Here, there is OB to the left, right where that tall grass is. There's OB to the right with the tall grass and behind. And you'll hear me saying this again and again on this course, that the tall grass defines the OB lines.
Yeah, and this gap, you know, not but 20 feet across and over 100 feet from the tee pad. This is a tight gap. Natalie not able to hit it.
Holly sends it purely through the gap. And let's see how close she can get. I mean, it was a great drive, and it's looking to be about 30 feet from the basket. So that's actually the farthest drive I've seen from the FPO division on this hole.
Deann hoping to match this. That's got to sit down. Oh, no. And she gets the OB indicator. That's a leaner. We'll take a look at that.
Yeah, very important to keep your drive flat on this hole. And Jaye, nothing wrong with that. That was low. And sometimes a low shot helps you keep it more accurate with a bit of nose down. So just a sidearm to get it within about 15 feet of the basket from Natalie. Same from Jaye.
Yeah, and it appears that Deann did go out of bounds officially. That disc of hers just faded just a little bit too hard to the left side. And as you said, the wind is kind of tricky out here.
And the wind is blowing right to left on this hole. And as you can see, Deann's disc is touching the OB line, but not touching the grass on the good side of the OB line. So it is declared OB.
Yeah, that is killer. That is missing by 1.5 inches. And it's these moments that you can either feel like a victim of some unfortunate consequence, or you can just keep pushing forward and hope to pick up some steam on the holes coming up.
Well, if there hadn't been tall grass there, she would have been much more out of bounds. And Holly canning the rare birdie on hole 5 for the FPO division. It's 325 feet, but it is a fair bit uphill right off the tee and with that narrow gap. Oh, and Natalie comes up just a little bit short. Her previous putt came a little bit short as well. So she'll be thinking about how to correct that. And Jaye, just sometimes when you see a putt miss from the same distance, that undermines your confidence. Was that a left-handed putt from Natalie?
Yeah, maybe the switch is about to happen.
Goodness.
Maybe she's training it for the holes coming up.
Well, I cannot do anything with my left hand. I have to be pretty much a drop-in to be successful with my left.
And Deann is going to drop in another bogey, and we will see you on number 6.
Welcome to the shop.
Hole number 7, there's a lot of open field, and then it gets really skinny all of a sudden. And then it takes a left turn. So this is a tricky, tricky hole. What you want to do is just throw it as straight as possible. Players sometimes err on trying to get some hyzer on the shot, but more often than not. Whatever that expression is, it goes in too soon. But I think Holly hit it just right there.
Yeah, it's such a tricky angle. And then once you bend the corner, the basket still pushes back more than you expect.
It does. I like the line Natalie has taken, although that was a little bit deep. But in fact, I'd rather be deep like that than short left. Deann looks like she's going to cut in left early.
Yeah, that looks like she's going to have to either stretch out and throw some sort of sidearm. Might be a tough angle for her.
And Jaye, much in the same position as Deann.
Oh, yeah. Jaye looking high, panning forehand.
And it deflected out early.
Just shows you how specific the angle is to the basket on this hole.
Yeah, you certainly want to be on the right side rather than the left side. And Deann, again, there's not a lot you can do there. You can't even really do a finger roller. There's just way too much stuff on the ground. And I think we're going to see quite a few 4s here from the field, both men and women.
Yeah, this hole barely saw any birdies from anyone that approached this hole. So a lot of players are just knowing that a 3 is somewhat the best you can do unless something miraculous happens.
Yeah, if you don't have your first shot dead straight and not too far, not too short, then you're pretty much scrambling for a 3 from wherever you are. No scrambling here from Holly. She looks like she's got a gap to the basket, and she's attacking it.
No way!
That's a big putt.
That is one of the few birdies on this hole from the entire field. Let's give that Ace Run Pro run back. What a birdie. And we were talking about this yesterday. Holly's spin putt is very unique, and it's such a weapon when she's on fire. And look at that.
Well, this is where Holly really shines, being able to attack these, 70, 80-foot putts without changing her putting style. And Natalie trying to get some of that magic, that was Jaye, and just missing. She thought she missed it.
I know that feeling.
She was sure she missed it, but the left side chain just grabbed it and reeled her in. And there we go. And what we're seeing from Jaye is I think we're seeing nerves at that 30-foot range, because that's a tough putt, and you have to putt it confidently, and she's just still trying to get used to the dynamic when you're on film. It's just so different than when the group is alone. This is a fun hole. There's nothing in the way except a little bit of an uphill. It doesn't show very much on the camera, but there is a little bit of uphill, that low branch, but then nothing in the way. And the basket's so appealing.
But with it being appealing right in front of you, it is very exposed, as we just saw.
Definitely exposed to the wind, and we've got a right to left wind. So the women should be trying to put a little anhyzer on it or looping it way out to the right. And we see two shots just drift too far to the left. And there's nothing wrong with just butting it right against that wall because that's a short putt.
And just off the wall from Deann, that's going to put her to about the circle's edge.
And Jaye hopefully was watching. Yes, she was. So she pulled hers out to the right, and she's playing her own game, saying, I'm just going to put it in front of the wall and give myself a chance to putt it. Yeah, I don't blame Holly for laying it up because the ground drops off steeply on the other side of that basket.
There was a part of me that was just hoping she ran it like she did the previous two holes, and that's okay. I understand. That's got to feel good.
There. Jaye's first birdie of the round.
Let's give him the ace run pro run back. She puts perfect pace on it, perfect angle, and hopefully some momentum moving into the next holes. And she is excited. You can see the momentum manifesting itself already.
It's nice to do the happy dance. And Deann in great position where she landed. But just misses. And Deann actually has an injury to the thumb on her throwing hand. She had a kitchen accident where she slit the top of her thumb with a knife. Didn't quite cut it off, but gave a good attempt at doing so. And so that's fairly heavily bandaged. So we saw yesterday, it took her a little while to get her putter going. And as she was saying, every now and then she accidentally jams her finger, and it's pretty painful for a few minutes. So she's trying to work through all that.
Yeah, and if there's any finger you don't want to have that happen to, it's your thumb. There's so much that you do with thumb pressure and different placements in the sport. So
I think the second finger would be pretty bad.
Pointer finger?
Yeah, pointer finger would be super bad for me.
Hello Leopard 3 is stable. It's want to go straight all day long. That's why I love it. It feels good in my hand. It's just very comfortable to grip. Just throw, it's gonna fly straight for you. And I love their plastic. It is beautiful. Look at this color. When you have a pretty disc like this, you just want a birdie, right?
Another similar shot where it's open and then it closes up. The gap is not quite so brutal here. So we'll see if the women can get a nice straight shot through that low overhang. It's 317 feet, but man, it feels like it's longer. Wow, but not for Jaye. She gets it right up there. What a fantastic shot.
Perfect landing, too. Landed it softly next to the basket. That's got to feel good, especially after last putt, too. She's picking up some steam. See that wind lifting her disc, pushing it off to the left side. Holly's going to have 40, 45 feet.
Okay, Natalie zings one in there. Anheuser, which is not a bad way to go, but I think the wind pushed it down a little bit soon for her liking. It's so tough to keep it high enough. And yeah, Deann's just got way pushed down, as you saw there. You have to keep it high enough to get through the gap, but low enough to be under the branches. And again, we've got that sand which prevents the disc from skipping, so you have to keep that in mind on your upshot and play it to land right near the basket, not to skip to the basket.
It's going to be an easy 3 for Natalie, and now Holly has another long putt, 40, 45 feet. Okay.
That's fantastic. I mean, she had that tree a little bit in her line. She had to navigate her way around it.
Yeah, let's run that back. All spin putters, pay attention. This is This is a clinic right now. And she turns her body a little bit more sideways than a lot of spin putters, too. She's almost like throw putting. It's really impressive.
Yeah, and Kona Panis has taken that same style of putting as well. So a par for Deann. And then Jaye with just that tiny little putt to get her second deuce in a row. And Natalie will take a 3. So we were talking about Jaye perhaps feeling a little bit less confident. And then what does she do? She immediately gets 2 deuces in a row. So you need confidence for this hole. You are down below. You have to throw it up and keep it around to the right. All that tall grass on the left is OB. And then the basket is guarded by this line of trees. You can approach it in a number of different ways depending on where you land. It is a true par 4.
Now, we see that OB long, and Jaye finds it. Elaine, what do you think is kind of the optimal backhand line on this tee shot?
You have to throw it way more flippy Anheuser than you think. I went OB on this hole, and I thought I had a great shot. I took my flippy disc, I Anheusered it, but because you're starting low and you're throwing uphill, you have to calculate that into the mix.
Yeah, it makes your disc a little bit more nose up, a little bit more stable. I find it very interesting, the hole that requires distance, but the distance is more sideways than it is forward.
It certainly is, and it takes a lot of discipline to throw like Deann did there, because you feel like you're throwing into this big bush, but the wind direction and the uphill makes the disc fly a little bit differently than you think. So we had...
Are we seeing... Oh, not sure if that was on purpose or not.
I think she just wanted to throw an Anheuser and try to get short right of the line of trees, and it just dug in. So Natalie also throwing 3. She tried to do something similar. Not quite sure what that landed. Holly with the fairway hit. She's just throwing it at the trees and seeing if it gets through. And it does.
Not a bad strategy. She gives herself another look at birdie.
That was a fantastic shot. I mean, maybe she was lining up that gap to the right that Deann is lined up with. If you are lined up with that gap, that's a really great gap to take, because as long as you get on the other side of the trees, you've got a chance at a long putt. Whereas if you decide to go straight down the tree line, you can be guarded by trees. And Jaye just inches from the basket. That's a great shot from Natalie. So this is for the birdie for Deann.
Oh, and she trains it from
Wow.
65 feet, maybe even longer. What a shot. Let's give it the Ace Run Pro run back. Little nose up hyzer just stalls and drops so nicely into the basket. Who needs chains?
Fantastic. That was a great putt, and what a boost of confidence.
And that's the beautiful thing about having good tempo on your putt. You know, even if it's not perfect, you can still land weak side. You can drop in the basket short.
And Holly says, well, if Deann can do it, I can do it.
And that is another birdie for Holly. She is on fire. We've been seeing quite a few incredible putts this round.
When her putt is on, her putt is on. Ooh, that actually bounced a little bit. It was a little bit short and it bounced in.
That extra spin helped her out there. Yeah. Yeah, now Holly is winning the card right now. She took that next birdie and Natalie took a bogey. And
a bogey for Jaye as well.
Wow, what a front nine. There you have it, folks. Holly Finley 2 down on the front. beating the card by 5 strokes. Natalie Ryan and Deann Carey 3 over. Jaye McGuire 4 over par. We have 9 more holes left. Let's take a look at this scorecard, and somebody has crept up onto the lead top 4.
Tied for 4th. I'm battling through.
And thank you again so much for tuning in. We have 9 more holes coming at you soon. Make sure to subscribe to Gatekeeper Media, and we will see you next time.